Hello, and welcome back to the Wallfacer Labs podcast. Today's guest is Facu, a longtime contributor to Yearn Finance, who is also co-founder of MOM, a development studio that contributes to protocols like Yearn and Ajna and builds tools and interfaces like SmallDApp and Gimme. Facu, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Thanks for having me excited about it.
Yeah, it was my absolute pleasure, and it was great meeting you in Brussels recently as well for ETHCC. So normally I like to just kind of jump into the topics, but in this case, I realized even though we have talked before, I don't really know much about your background. And so I'd love to start off just kind of understanding a bit about you. One of the reasons I had also kind of reached out was I know Yearn just recently celebrated the 4-year anniversary of its YFI token, a big moment in DeFi history, I'd say. I think you've been working at Yearn since at least 2021, maybe earlier. Can you kind of take us through how you wound up at Yearn and your entrance into crypto?
Yeah, I've been there like from the very beginning. So it's from July 2020 or before. My background is technical. So if you see what I do today, it's mostly business related and ops. So to tell you a little bit about my story, I used to have an IT company, and with a few partners, etc. And one of our arms didn't have anything to do. So my partner decided to start mining with a few video cards. Long story short, that became an industrial Bitcoin farming operation in South America. But Bitcoin is boring. That's the problem. It doesn't do anything. I mean, you can trade it, but I like to do stuff. So one of the investors told me, hey, have you seen this? You can collateralize your assets, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. Over the weekend, I did some research and I really fell in love with Ethereum. And since I've always worked with open source software, I found this group of people that were doing this kind of thing that was super entertaining, super new. They were collaborating to do something. They were trying to get funds to fund new initiatives. It was called YDAO, that little group that was in fact what it's known as Yearn today. That was like a little group of contributors trying to fund new initiatives. So at the very beginning, we were like 9 people. And I was doing a little bit of customer support. I was trying to code some stuff, but I realized that a lot of people in the space, especially back then, were super smart developers. I couldn't cope with the amount of knowledge they had. So I started doing this, being the interface, to call it somehow, between developers and regular human beings. So yeah, I still code from time to time. I really like it. I enjoy it, but I do a bunch of other stuff related to ops, products, and that kind of things. So that a little bit my journey.
Nice. Yeah, a bit of a kind of Swiss Army knife of things there. So when you, I guess, first started getting involved with Yearn then, that would have been just probably around or right before the time of the token launch, and maybe even before it was Yearn and still iEarn, or kind of where in that time frame did you first come across it?
It was still iEarn, and it was after the token launch. I mean, that's how I found this group of people. I mean, I got into Discord. I didn't have an account in Discord, actually. I've never been a gamer or anything. So I found it in Telegram, started digging into groups, and it was super natural for me. It was super organic. And we were working around the clock. It was 9, then we were 15, and then we grew a lot. But we were working around the clock. I mean, it was right in the middle of the DeFi summer. So there was a lot of opportunities coming up every day, a lot of risks.
Yeah, how would you describe Yearn's culture and composition of the team around that time? I mean, I guess my recollection of that time, and I wasn't involved in Yearn or anything, was just Yearn was kind of the thing that everyone was talking about constantly. Obviously, Andre was kind of this larger than life personality. The token launch was this mystical thing. What was it like behind the scenes at that time?
I mean, for me, it was great because everyone was so generous in terms of knowledge. I knew nothing about it, but everyone spent a lot of time explaining stuff, like one of the maintainers of the Piper language, Doggy, Banteg, Andre. You asked questions, even if it was the most stupid questions they were answering. And that was kind of the whole vibe at Yearn. We were working together to do something great. The first thing that struck me as a surprise, it was that nobody had their camera on. Nobody had names. At that point in time, some people were pseudo-anonymous. They were using their names here and there without much care, but that was kind of weird. And then I got used to it. But there's something very powerful about it, and that it actually removes all your biases. Because we all, even we want it or not, we all have biases when we look at someone, even if it's tall, short, woman, man, whatever. So this removes everything. So you know if the person on the other end of the call is a 15-year-old, a 60-year-old, race or anything. So that was very cool. We spent 1.5 years working together without knowing our faces.
I'd say as decentralized organizations go, Yearn's probably up there in terms of, if not the most, in terms of embracing pseudonymity in a very positive way, I'd say. Has there been any, you covered some of the lessons here, but have there been any unexpected or positive like outcomes or results you've seen from that? Maybe just in terms of people you're able to attract or particular insights of this pseudonymous culture?
Well, I mean, everything about it is positive. It's about removing the biases and just rewarding doing stuff. That's always been Yearn's motto. I think it has some kind of negative aspect of it. Is sometimes it's like a game that you can reset. So it's like if you do something wrong with an identity, you can reset and start all over again. That's one of the negative aspects. But on the positive side, I think that you accumulate social capital in your identity. Like your name. I mean, your name is just another pseudonymous in the end. But like Bante, do you think that Bante can press the reset button and just start all over again? Yeah, he starts all over again, but from scratch. So I think that most of the stuff, it's like super positive, and nobody ever had at Yearn at least had an issue with people being anonymous.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the many impressive things about Yearn, which is I would say that it feels like maybe some other crypto projects DAOs have had issues with pseudonymous people just not always being savory characters. Is there any kind of screening or just, is it getting to know people over time and then kind of building up the trust that you're able to give them as pseudonymous people?
Yeah, that's probably one of the cons about onboarding new contributors that Yearn always had. It's always been a long process. It's a long process because we took it like organically, to call it somehow. So people started contributing a little bit, and they got like a grant from time to time, and then they started getting more and more involved, and everything was so slow that either someone could have been playing a long con, which didn't happen, or you just detected, or they just abandoned. So yeah, that's kind of the con, right? It takes a long time because we take it like super organically.
And something else I've always found interesting about Yearn's structure is that it seems to kind of be comprised of these like groups of people that kind of are their own mini companies within the Yearn ecosystem, right? You have kind of the audit group, or we'll talk more about how your team at MOM kind of works for Yearn and maybe began there and works for other people as well. What is the structure of Yearn like today, and how has that evolved over time? Is it just this collection of people that sometimes get together for Yearn? How does that all work? I'm always curious.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll give you a little bit of the story of it. When we were a little group, it was very easy because it's like 9, 15, 20, whatever. Yearn is not only a DAO, but it's also horizontal. So there are no formal roles. I mean, I've signed as head of comms, head of KYC, CEO, whatever. Whatever is needed, like take the role and run with it. Nobody cares. Because inside the organization, leadership is natural, which is very cool. I mean, you can see leaders arise in certain groups. So the problem is that when we grew, we realized that we started losing accountability. Like, how do you get accountability in a group of 50 people, for example? Right. Or we were 150 people at some point in time.
Wow. So is that the peak headcount, about 150?
Yeah. Because we had coordinate, but it was a huge structure.
Sure.
But then, anyways, with 50 people, 30 people, it's really hard. Accountability is really hard. I mean, to make a decision. How do you make a single decision about the color? It's hard. So we said, what can we do to keep moving fast, keep being decentralized, keep being horizontal? So we decided to do kind of what MakerDAO did with this sub-organizations. I don't know.
Sub-DAOs.
Now it's sub-DAOs, but I don't know what they had another name. For us are white teams. So the white teams have powers delegated from voters, from Wi-Fi holders, but also there are internal groups that make decisions about stuff. So it's a more informal approach to what MakerDAO did. And that allowed us to become faster again, accountable, and keep the horizontal structure. That's how we work. I mean, and every team is independent. Each white team submits a budget request every quarter. there's a group that's called Why Budget. It's a white team about budget that decides, hey, is this okay? Is this not okay? It gives a lot of feedback. There's a lot of discussions anyway. There's no Cesar saying this is good to go or this goes to lines. So yeah, that's how we work today.
And is there any kind of coordination layer above that, or how does one group's priorities align with another group's priorities effectively?
A load of discussions. We have a team meeting every week to align on what's important, what's not important, and yeah, we still have everyone together in the same group talking about stuff. But yeah, the coordination happens anyways.
And I guess perhaps kind of related to some of that structure is, I'm also curious how the culture of Yearn has evolved over time as well. I mean, maybe at the beginning it was this kind of ragtag group of renegades, and have certain aspects gotten more formalized, or still is it this kind of just amalgamation of people all excited about the same thing?
I think that's really cool, because you made me remember about DeFi Summer and stuff. Yeah, we were like the whole Yearn was like a big SWAT team just tackling the latest yield opportunity. Right now, I think that Yearn has evolved in something. I mean, we're still looking for the latest opportunities and new stuff to do, but we're more focused on security. In retrospect, I don't know if we were that aware that we were paying that much attention to security back then. Everything was moving so fast that I didn't realize until the whole thing passed, until the DeFi Summer stopped, and we were able to see what was going on after the dust settled. But yeah, now we are even more focused on security, and I think we're moving a little bit slower. But yeah, I think that's kind of maybe the weight of the brand and trying to be careful. Back then we were more reckless, if you want, on that sense. It was like, yeah, let's build and break things faster.
The famous testing and production, of course.
Well, yeah, you know what's funny? It's like a lot of people, like when COVID stopped. Air cons, and I started going to conferences, because I'm one of the few that it's not Anon at Yearn. Like Facu is my actual freaking name. Some people don't like it. It's like, sorry, it is. People started saying, "Oh, Yearn is so risky. You test in prod." It's like, no, guys. We had like a very long security process that it was hard to pass, and it was like I actually did a presentation. It was my first presentation in a conference in ITCC, and explaining the security process. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I thought you tested in prod." It's like, no, it's like we test in mainnet fork because we need the whole state of the chain, blah blah blah. But it's funny that you remember.
Yeah, I think it's the power of memes, which is, I think that saying is just so irrevocably connected to Yearn at this point. So even though you guys do have obviously great security practices, and that's not the reality of where we are.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned DeFi Summer a few times. I'm curious, just having you worked on a protocol that was such at the forefront of DeFi Summer, what are some of your craziest Yearn memories of that time period?
That's a good question. Not sleeping just to tackle collateral damage of some actions from someone or some incident. War rooms. I've never been in a war room in my life. Being in war rooms during DeFi Summer was, nerve-wracking, actually. I don't know. I don't know if I had crazy memories. I think they were crazy for me at that time, because the amount of money the protocol was managing, it was a few orders of magnitude bigger than whatever you can see in real life. So I think that was the craziness of it all. Like for my friends and like my family, when we were talking about it, they were like, "What? How much? Say again." Between that and working with people that were not turning their cameras on was like super weird. It's like I think that the craziness was more for the people outside of Yearn than for me. For me, it became natural, I guess.
Just a sense of living in the chaos or something.
100%. I've never been very structured myself, so for me it was like, yeah, just pushing forward. The energy was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier about, these days Yearn is very security conscious, maybe just moves slower as a result, which I think is natural for really anyone that kind of grows and matures as a protocol. At the same time, Yearn really has done a great job, perhaps because of that security evolution of, I think, maintaining its reputation as being the go-to yield aggregator across the space. Even though I'd say that's a very competitive category, lots of other people try to enter, I still think Yearn is the first thing everyone thinks of. What do you think Yearn has done to kind of maintain that reputation and evolve over time into this just stalwart protocol?
I think it's exactly like the DeFi summer. We were always at the forefront of new opportunities. I don't think that's the case now for Yearn. I think the Yearn now is it's safer, but also being very open about what we're doing. I think we earned the trust from people, and luckily we didn't have many incidents or anything like others. And
Right.
I remember having a problem with the Diebold a while ago. We managed to recover everything. I think that showing up when shit hits the fan is what's important for anyone. It's like nobody hit or nobody did anything wrong. We were like always working to make the best we could for everyone, and that showed. Yeah, I think that could be the case. I'm biased, by the way.
Of course, naturally, I wouldn't expect anything less. So I guess then, kind of following on that, Yearn is this safe piece of infrastructure, I think, generally speaking today, right? And I want to talk a bit about what that means for kind of a growth context. So I kind of assume that today Yearn it's reached everyone that's in DeFi, right? If you're in crypto and you don't know what Yearn is, I think that's weirder than the opposite case of that. So how do you think about like the next wave of expansion or growth for Yearn in that context? Like, are there untapped markets or users, or how does Yearn think about that?
I mean, we're trying to make it easier for other people. I think that maybe more like people that have been more time in the space, they know Yearn, but I don't think that newer people that are more focused on L2s know Yearn that much. Yearn's focus has always been mainnet, which is expensive for some people. And right now, I mean, back then you had only maybe Polygon, Yearn, and something. Mainnet, Ethereum mainnet, Polygon, and something else. XDAI potentially, but right now with all these opportunities everywhere, I think that L2s and having a better UX is something that is a good thing. And these are like more normie users, how you can call them, or less experienced users, don't know Yearn that much. I think that's an kind of untapped territory for us, and we're working on improving like the UI, improving the UX, making the comps more clear, and a little bit less degen. So yeah, I think that's the next step, because the Yearn UI has always been a little bit difficult. So yeah, that's what we're trying.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can also contribute to some of that with the work we're doing at Vaults and some of our new stuff. But coming back around to something else you just said there on the L2 side. So how's Yearn thought about L2 expansion so far? I forget what chains you guys are on today besides ETH. I know Polygon and
Arbitrum, Optimism, Phantom. At first, Yearn was an ETH maxi, 100% an ETH maxi. But it was super early. Like the security assumptions to go elsewhere were like there were a lot of assumptions. So, but then I mean, you gotta go where the users are and where the new opportunities are. So all the new opportunities started to raise in Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, etc. So the problem is that, different from a DEX or from a lending market, which are things that pretty much work on its own. You need to evaluate risk, etc. Yearn strategies and vaults, they need to be monitored constantly. So that's why our the Yearn's expansion has been slower. But today, yeah, Yearn embraces all the L2s, etc. It has to be worth it for everyone. So strategies can be created and monitored. Yeah,
totally. And how have you seen the growth on L2s? I mean, like what percentage of TVL do all L2s and non-ETH chains make up today, or is it still very ETH heavy?
It's very TVL. ETH heavy. It's like 80% of the TVL it's Ethereum. That's why I'm telling you also, like the more OG people, I don't really like the word G, but whatever. It's an easy way. No Yearn, but we need to tap into these users that are new users that use L2s natively, etc., which makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I've seen some interesting approaches here. I mean, obviously in the past, you guys did the token redenomination. I forget the name of it. Woofy, yes, right? Yeah. I mean, I think that's supposed to maybe appeal to a wider audience that's maybe intimidated by a token that's thousands of dollars. I've seen other teams like, Aerodrome, Velodrome, the kind of reinvention for a new chain, kind of having fresh branding, maybe the opportunity to form kind of a new community around it. Have you guys thought of things like that? Like, kind of a new brand for different L2s? Or obviously your team at MOM has done a lot around marketing and stuff.
Yeah, MOM, we do a lot about marketing, but it's an option. Never thought about it. I think that having yet another brand is going to fracture the team in two or something. So it's going to be even harder about all the things about coordination, decision making, etc., which I think are the challenges at DAOs, especially horizontal ones. So no, we always thought about keeping Yearn as one brand, going to L2s, etc.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned kind of OGs being very aware of Yearn, and I know you don't like that word, but maybe just, power users or something in that sense. How do you guys see the user base today? Is it kind of whale dominated? Is it a wide swath of people? How do you think about even serving those different kind of users?
I think it depends. It depends on the chain. It's Ethereum is prohibited for some people because of transaction costs, etc. On Ethereum, we did research on our TVL to see who was our user, and more than 90% of the deposits were 50K or higher. So it was like whalish. And but I believe that in L2s it was a mix of things. But I believe that in L2s there are more, not retail, but power users that are experimenting with stuff, still experimenting with stuff. I mean, I have friends that tell me, hey, I will send you money on Polygon. It's like, what? You are using crypto? Okay, that's great. So yeah, I mean, we want to onboard the next wave of users. We all, right? So we need to embrace L2s and do things a little bit different.
Yeah, without question, I think. I guess, where do you guys sit in the realm of alternative L1s? Maybe that's taboo for kind of an ETH Maxi team, but Solana, Aptos, Sui, is there ever a future where we'll see Yearn in those places?
To be honest, I was personally a hater of Solana, etc. But at some point in time, I said, well, let's look at it from a different standpoint. At least it's something different. It's not yet another EVM. I mean, they're trying something different. They have to reboot the blockchain from time to time, but that's fine. The problem for Yearn is that a lot of the security relies on battle-tested smart contracts and coding everything in Rust again. I think it's a huge lift-off. And is Solana the right chain to do this kind of stuff? High speed, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a huge lift-off to go with Yearn to Solana in Rust. We don't have the skill set in the team.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the more common things I see. It's just people have their entire skill, knowledge, security based on Ethereum and EVM, and porting that somewhere else is not particularly easy. And, of course, then you have a whole new ecosystem of things to compete with.
Yeah, exactly. And maintaining two code bases in different languages, it starts to be, you need a whole new team for that.
Okay, well, let's transition a bit to your current company, MOM. One, does MOM stand for something? And then two, what inspired its creation, and what is MOM, essentially?
To the response to your first question, MOM stands for mother, basically. So we always like this kind of fun jokes that didn't make any sense to anyone. So that's where the name is coming from. Also, the MOM team, it also happened naturally. We started working together as Yearn contributors, doing front end design and copywriting actually for the websites. And we realized that we were a like a really good team to do very high quality prototypes in a very short amount of time. So we were doing that and a bunch of other stuff. And when at Yearn, we all decided to do this kind of decentralized team organization. For us, it was kind of, okay, yeah, we are a team, we're a white team because we are doing all this stuff together. And we were doing only front end. But since we had like half the design and marketing team with us, it's like, well, I mean, let's include marketing in the same team. And we were doing 100% Yearn for a long time because this happened like a year and something ago. And at some point we decided, okay, why don't we start dating other people? We thought it's like this can be beneficial for everyone. And that's when we started doing stuff with Ashna. Ashna, it's also a decentralized protocol, lending protocol. And to give you an example of what we think is beneficial for everyone, is we created Juiced Vaults, which is a combination between Ashna and Yearn. So we think that the good thing about this ecosystem is exactly that, the composability and the new things that you can bring. If you look closer enough, you can create these new things that are good for people, good for everyone, good for protocols. And yeah, that's how we started doing front-end and marketing, which is a weird combination of stuff, and how we started dating other people.
That's how every polyamorous relationship starts, I suppose. You got to test the waters and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
So, at some point I will have someone from the kind of original Ajna Labs team on here to do an Ajna deep dive. But for people who aren't familiar, maybe just, 30 seconds, what is Ajna? And then maybe talk through the relationship of how Juiced Vaults work, how they connect to the two, and, what your guys' role is in that flow.
Yeah, 100%. Ajna is a difficult protocol.
It is.
Ajna is like UniB3, but for like Uniswap B3, but for lending. So what it means is instead of having Aave, which you have a big bag of tokens on one side that you can lend and a big bag of tokens you can borrow, you have individual isolated pairs for every token. So if you want to lend WBTC and borrow DAI against those WBTC, that exact pair needs to exist and needs to have money. So you cannot borrow DAI that is not in the WBTC pool. So if there's DAI in the ETH DAI pool, you cannot use it. There are pros and cons. Like the con is that you have to bootstrap liquidity for every single isolated pool, and the advantage is that you can onboard pretty much any asset because the risk is isolated. You don't put the whole system at risk. What was the other question? That's
a pretty good summary. Hopefully people follow that. And then the other question was, how do the juiced pools connect Yearn and Ajna? And then, I guess, what's your kind of role in that as well, right? Is it, obviously the beautiful front end? Have you guys kind of built some smart contracts to connect the two as well? How does that all work?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I said, Ajna is like UniB3, but for lending. So the problem is that you have these price buckets. So yes. I will not go into detail because it's like super boring and complicated. But the thing is that you say, hey, I'm willing to lend at a certain price, lend ETH at $2,000 DAI. So that means that you're willing to sell your ETH for $2,000 DAI. What happens when the price moves? You need to move your money around. So that's what Juiced Vaults do. They wrap an Ajna pair in a vault. You deposit DAI, and it moves your DAI, your ETH, whatever asset it's supported, from price bucket to price bucket to ensure that you're not liquidated in that sense. So that's one part, which is the automation and the Juiced Vaults. Below the Juiced Vaults, you also have Juiced Pools. Why Juiced Pools? Because protocols that want to bootstrap liquidity for their token, they wanted some infrastructure to be able to incentivize people to deposit tokens in there. So it's it's a way for protocols to go in there and say, hey, I want more people to deposit DAI into the WBTC DAI pool. So I will deposit these tokens for the users, and the users that deposit are going to get a reward. Our role there was that we were part of the ideation team, with the Yearn team, like the Yearn smart contract team was a big part of that. We didn't do anything of the smart contract side. We don't do smart contracts usually. So Yearn did all the smart contracts, and we did all the branding, marketing, and UI for both juice vaults and juice pools. It was a very, very cool and hard problem to solve.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I'd say the role that mom plays is very unique in the way that you seem to work with protocols. I mean, how do you think about choosing other places to work with as well? And, is it you wait for interesting things to come to you? Do you guys kind of go out and pursue things? And, how deeply do you choose to get integrated into some of these ecosystems, after maybe whatever the initial thing you work on is?
Yeah, both actually. It's like we evaluate everything that comes to us, but we also pursue stuff that we think is interesting. We are very mindful of who we work with, because we cannot help working 100 hours a day into something and trying to fix problems and do whatever we can to help a protocol. And we are not a huge team. We are 15 people. So we're very, very mindful. And it's not only about the last project that has a lot of hype or hype words or whatever. We also have to kind of vibe with the team, because we spend a lot of time really together, because marketing is not considered like a core kind of thing and needs some direction from the core team doing X, Y, Z. And we also like to be as autonomous as possible, because it's the way we can react to trends. And we are chronically online, so we can react very fast to trends on the social side and do these kind of things. On Twitter especially, and on the front end side, it's the same. We come up with ideas all the time, and we like to code them, ship them fast, etc. So yeah, we look for autonomy, work very close with the team. So yeah, it's not easy to find that.
Yeah, well, I think even if people haven't known that it's you guys, you mentioned marketing. I think maybe people will recognize some of the creative marketing that your team has done, both with Ajna, which I think probably most people didn't know that maybe you guys are doing, a lot of your work with Yearn as well. How have you guys sort of developed this voice or taste when it comes to marketing? And how do you think about some of the campaigns that you guys design?
I mean, honestly, that's 100% Raper. It's he's the creative mastermind. I mean, Ed Draper and Evan, the creative masterminds behind all that. They have this kind of humor that it's sometimes it's kind of border, but I think it's very Yearn style also. We've been at Yearn, we started playing against this businessy style of things. So we were
a lot of hentai marketing for a while.
Yes. I remember that. I remember that era. We had hentai for a while, but yeah, then it was this kind of low key, funny stuff, which I think it's appealing for crypto people. I think we were one of the if not the first, one of the first doing video ads on Twitter, because we thought, hey, why not? And just try something new. It takes a lot of time to do these videos. I mean, you see, it's very short pieces of footage from different films or whatever. It takes a ton of time and a ton of artistic direction. So yeah, I love. Yeah, again, I'm biased, but we try to do something that people enjoy, and it's also a little bit educative or give some information. But yeah, I hope everyone's enjoying it, to be honest.
And I guess just given all of that experience and kind of the work you've done there, like, where do you net out on what kind of marketing is most appropriate for a DeFi protocol? I'm sure there's no kind of one fits all approach, but I'd say maybe Yearn is on the more fun, edgier, some would say, side of marketing. Then maybe there's a brand like Compound that does zero marketing, right? They don't tweet even. So like, if that's a spectrum, like, or maybe another way to ask it would be, what are some brands that you don't work with in DeFi that you admire, like that you think do marketing well?
That's a good question. That's a good question because I have one in mind, but it will work with them.
You can say that too, then, I guess.
Jumper Exchange. Even before we started helping, I mean, they have a great marketing team, and their marketing. I mean, we were huge fans of Jumper's marketing team before us. But I think, well, there's no single recipe. I think that what we're trying to do right now with teams that we work with is to take one step back and help them realize what's the best marketing for them. Because sometimes it's, and I saw that in the DeFi Summer, it's a bunch of developers trying to do their best, and they're very smart people that they can do most of the stuff that they want, but at a certain point, they need to start hiring professionals. So they need either lawyers, copywriters, marketers, etc. So when they get to the point where they want to get serious about the branding, their brand, it's like we sit down with them and say, hey, let's talk about what you want your brand to be. Do you want it to be the Red Bull of crypto? Do you want it to be the JP Morgan of crypto? Do you want to be, what do you want to be? What do you aspire to?
Yes.
So a lot of brand working that seems a little bit like LARPing to some people, but it's important to then develop this tone of voice that you can identify very well what's Yearn's tone of voice, because there's been a lot of work. I mean, you can go to brand, I think it's brand.yearn.finance, and there's a whole document about Yearn's tone of voice. That's us. So we help them do that. And I think that's very important. I think that right now the ecosystem has evolved into kind of seeing, hey, yeah, we need to professionalize that side of things, because we have very good technical skills, but on the other side, we need all that stuff to be done. And I think I think that's the right approach, like in every aspect of a company, to try to hire professionals when you can.
Yeah, have you found that kind of, I guess, at that step of hiring professionals, if you were advising someone else, do you look for people that maybe were very good marketers or copywriters, but not in crypto per se, so that they bring kind of a fresh experience? Do you look for people just with the crypto experience already, maybe less heavy on the marketing side? How do you balance those two things?
For us, it's a mix. We actually hired someone yesterday or 2 days ago. No crypto experience. And it's great because it brings a fresh new perspective, but it's also hard because it brings a fresh new perspective, but knows no limitations. That's a good thing about them. I think that so we need a mix. We have people that's experienced in crypto and people that it's not, and we work very close together with also like marketers with developers, because we also do this thing. What's the word? Digital activations. I mean, mini front ends that do have a more of a marketing role. So it's cool to have both. But if you don't have that heavy technical side that can inform marketers and help them onboard them into crypto, it's hard. So having all, I mean, it's sorry for the not very clear answer. It's like, I think that having only one type, it's not sustainable for the ecosystem, because you need to know the market, protocols, etc. Having a mix has worked for us very, very well, and we want to keep onboarding people that it's outside of crypto because it's worked very, very well for us.
Yeah, it makes sense. That onboarding piece has always felt the most intimidating to me. I mean, my brain, I feel like, is just so fried understanding crypto stuff and, weird references that, like, trying to onboard someone new into, I think they would just think I'm a idiot or something for spending so much brain power on this stuff. So I've always found that piece intimidating. But it's encouraging to hear that you guys have been able to do it and also keep the marketers kind of working closely with the developers too.
Yeah, I think that the hard thing, it's more about the cultural thing. How do you tell people, how do you tell someone new that, oh, meme coins are traded on Solana? You need to remember that stuff. Oh, how is this community like? How's that community like? Yeah. Compound doesn't tweet. And they don't know. So they don't know that. I think that the cultural references and cultural knowledge is harder than technical knowledge, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. That soft piece of just understanding everything kind of in and around the ecosystem. Huh. Okay. Well, so I guess just maybe one last thing to kind of wrap up the DeFi side before we get into some of Mom's products is, you've been with Yearn from the very beginning. You've worked with, I'd say very experimental teams like Ajna, where they've gotten rid of their entity and sort of just dissolved the core team. You work with teams like Jumper as well, as you mentioned. For someone maybe looking at crypto for the first time, looking to get involved, what are some perhaps misconceptions that you think people would have about working inside of a DeFi protocol? As, say, compared to a traditional company, right? You've worked at traditional companies before, of course. So.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that many people think that DeFi protocols are intimidating. Just because, and it happened to Yearn. A lot of people told me, "Oh no, it's intimidating." So, just because people are super smart, and it's all the way around. I think that the most important thing is coming to contribute. If it's a DAO, right, with the right attitude, like doing stuff, helping out, best intentions, and asking questions. I think that it sounds like a cliche, but not feeling intimidated. It's I think it's the best. Being more naive about it. Knowing less, and sometimes some people say no, but X, Y, or Z, it's a celebrity. He's not going to answer. I said just DM him, and most of the time you're going to receive an answer. So I think that's the good thing about the whole ecosystem, that you can DM pretty much anyone, and they're going to answer you, and they're going to give you the best answer they can. Today a lot of big protocols they are still protocols, but they have big companies behind them. So that's going to feel more like working for a traditional company. Sure. But there are still these weirdos around with DAOs and working teams, etc. I think it's very fun to try to do that once in a lifetime at least.
Yeah. A call to action for anyone that's listening and thinking about diving in.
Exactly.
So outside of all of the great work that you guys do with protocols, I know you've also built some products and tools of your own. I think at this point, they all mostly fall under the small dApp kind of brand or site. Maybe you could talk about kind of how that came to be and some of the different products in there.
Well, we built, but let's start by the other one, the easiest one, that's Gimme. Gimme is actually part of Yearn. It's Yearn UI trying actually to tackle this untapped group of users that are not using Yearn. Super easy, only L2s, only vanilla tokens, grouping stable coins in only like one group again. Because it's, for some people it's the same, USDC, USDT, DAI, only power users or very paranoid users worry about it. So that's one. We say, hey, why don't we simplify all this stuff and we just reduce the offering. And the other one is Small. Small was born as a group of people that just wanted to do some stuff that was missing. Someone said, hey, a friend got hacked and he needed to move his asset from one wallet to another one. And I didn't know what to tell him. Oh, let's do Migrator. So it's just a UI to migrate all your tokens. Same for NFTs. That's how it started. It was a pet project, and still kind of is, but we're pushing more into it. It's something that solves our problems. I use it every day. We didn't like how wallets were handling send, or when the whole MetaMask thing happened. It's like, oh, if I migrate my wallet, I lose my address book. It's like, oh, like the address book is not the address book of the phone. It's like addresses that I consider safe. So
Yes.
it was like, what do we do? So we created SafeSend, which saves your address book in your browser, so it's private. And you can use any wallet. I mean, I moved to Frame, then I moved to Ravi. Now I use a combination of wallets, and I can always use the same address book and the same interface to send tokens. I send tokens to people all the time. So it's solving our own problems. Or dump.services. We needed to dump proceeds of farming to one token, ETH or stables. It's like, how many transactions? And CowSwap was there. We talked with them. Hey, want to do this? Yeah, well, we're willing to support you guys. Okay, let's do it. And that's how we started dump.services. Then we wanted to go to L2s. Okay, no CowSwap. What do we do? Bebop. Okay, we talk with them. Yeah, happy to support you guys. Let's build dump.services on Bebop, on Polygon of Bebop. So, and then the Wintermute thing happened with Optimism. You know,
I remember that well. Yes.
That was a sad one. So we say, well, why don't we know how to clone a safe.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it with a UI? So we did it, and actually that's one of our most successful mini apps in Small.
I've used that one.
Safe. Oh, really? Oh,
I've used Multisafe. Yes. Yeah, Multisafe is awesome. Dump services, actually, as I was refreshing my memory in prep for this, is it only on ETH and Polygon, or is it on more chains as well?
No, it's only ETH and Polygon, yeah.
Oh, okay. I had some stuff on Base I needed to dump, and I didn't know if I could use that or not.
Sorry. We need if you find anyone that is supporting this kind of batch swaps with intents, happy to do it.
Okay, got it, good. Okay, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I could just sum up kind of all of the small dApp products as solving your needs as hardcore on-chain users. And then Gimme is almost the complete opposite, where it is simplifying what is otherwise a kind of complex experience for perhaps more beginner type of users. So really both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, we want to make small as easy as possible. Some stuff it's not easy, but for us, small is more about the place where you can do all your crypto chores. So these are these tasks that nobody wants to do. I mean, you don't want to clone a safe. It's so boring. I mean, I'd rather be playing Axie Infinity or whatever. So that's the idea, to make it like very simple and useful. That's it.
Got it. And do you kind of alluded to this earlier, but do you see these kind of evolving into a bigger business or things you would somehow try to monetize, or they're just kind of public goods in your mind?
Small like Gimme?
Yeah.
Gimme is part of Yearn, and it is what it is. And small, I mean, we thought about it, but for now it doesn't make any sense for us. So at some point in time, we would like to make it sustainable, but as long as we can fund it and it's still useful for us, it's an investment on making our tasks easier, paying for stuff. I mean, we use it. It's our ops system also. So for now, it's good as it is. But happy. I mean, if anyone is using it and they have feedback, we are very active and we love feedback, even if it's bugs. We work one-on-one with anyone, so happy to take it.
Nice. Well, with Gimme, one question I realized I forgot to ask is, how has the uptick been so far? I mean, have you seen it bringing in kind of a new class of user, either smaller users or kind of just new addresses?
The pickup has been really, really slow, but we also have a very small subset of vaults there, because no fancy Pendle high yield vaults.
Yeah.
Just because Pendle was cut a while ago. Only vanilla assets, so that's hard, and only L2s. And the main Yearn offering is on mainnet. So the next launch, it's on Base, since you have funds on Base. But again, all boring assets.
Right.
So, but we are okay with it. We want to build it little by little and go to L2s with a consistent, like, kind of savings account, if you want, of some kind, which is safe and it's very easy to use.
Got it. All right. Very cool. And I guess, as we're kind of coming to the end here, I saw on the Small Dap site that you guys had some upcoming features coming soon. Anything you want to tease as it, involves what's coming next to Small Dap or you work at other places as well?
I mean, at Small Up, we're thinking about a bunch of stuff that it's not even there as soon. But I think that the best one, at least for me, it's the earn part, which is integrating Gimme. For us, it's something that's missing. I mean, we transformed the small interface into a more wallet-like interface or something like that, just because we wanted to make it easier. It's like you can look at what the tokens that you have, send them to anyone, and so you can stay in the same place. We want to integrate Gimme to give some convenience to people using it, people like us. I think that's the most exciting one for me now, because it's useful, it's convenient, I use it. So, but we have other stuff that I cannot reveal right now that I go to back
Of course.
to very soon.
All right. Well, is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to cover or that you want the audience to know about?
I mean, I spoke about pretty much everything about my adult life. So, no, I think it's fine. It's been great.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Facu, for all the time today. If people want to learn more about you or Mom, where can they go?
I mean, they can ping me on anywhere, like Telegram, Twitter, whatever. I'm Salty Facu. And they can go to Built by Mom. It's prepared by underscores. And yeah, our DMs are always open.
Okay. All right. I'll drop all those links in the show notes as well. And thanks to everybody for listening. Talk soon.